So vulnerabilities, I think for anyone listening, are pretty easy to understand. That's poorly written code that it is likely to lead to an exploit of the application because the library is vulnerable. You talked about operational. I think that's fairly easy to understand. That would be where maybe this library is no longer being maintained, or maybe the community is a very, very small community, and you might say, should I, count on something where I've got a library that's being maintained by a single individual and it hasn't been touched in 2 years, right? That would be an operational risk, right? And you'd say, I might be better off finding a different library there. Licensing is one that I always get a little confused by. So can you explain what licensing risk is?
So all software has some form of license associated with it, series of rights and obligations. And within an open source space, the rights usually include things like I can use this in any type of application that I want, and I'm free to do a bunch of things with it. It's the obligation side of the equation that starts to get a little bit funky for most people. So contrary to popular belief, just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's free. There is, in fact, a set of rules, and one of the rules could be that if you incorporate my software into your product, you have to go and publish not just a copyright of mine or an attribution back to me, but potentially the entire source code that is associated with what I've now become part of. So publish the entire source code of the application. For some organizations, that's exactly okay, and the world moves on, and this is not a problem. But for other organizations, that's a bridge too far. They want to retain access to the intellectual property, so they don't want to be publishing the source code. So the license that I may have put, that more restrictive license, means that maybe for that organization, my code, as good as it is the wrong code for them. It just doesn't fit their worldview. And so it is quite simply a set of, you can almost think of them as contractual requirements of, here's a set of rights that I'm granted, here's a set of obligations, are the various elements compatible with each other now across all of the dependencies that are in the application, so that there's no encumbrance on the end result.